Hello everyone, this is Warpster77 tuning into another video, and today I will be introducing some mechanics and tidbits and tricks as to optimize not only your attack, but also your defense for the Doctor's Curse DLC, add-on edition, mini-game, whatever you want to call it. There are a few things that most attackers overlook, and there's also a few things that defenders overlook. And I will be citing most of my evidence with video footage of not only my experience, but also my mistakes of making it on day one. However, there is typically optimal strategies that you should employ. Working as a team is still just as crucial as ever in this minigame. So, with that being said, let's get right into the meat and potatoes. As you can clearly see on the screen here, that I'm just going around in what would be like a nonsensical fashion, scanning footprints willy-nilly. In these videos and clips, I'll be showing you for specific character roles and actions how to properly employ your utility as an attacker and as a defender. Main thing for the attackers is to work together as a unit, finding in originally where the enemies have spawned, finding from there, make your map pressure. Sometimes when you have tag teams like this where the defenders have your fellow man down, it is more crucial to kill the defenders if they have a tag team duo. Frost, Lesion, Frost and Smoke, if any of those two are together, it is typically not a good idea to go for the save, as it will jeopardize your health pool as well. It is much more fitting and rather optimal to go after the defenders. However, if there is a chance to save your defender, as in if he goes down to a frost mat relatively quickly, you would want to be right behind there, and especially if they're all dispersing. It's a call up to you, but saving your fellow man is a bit more important, as that saves time, and time is the game that we are playing. Now, let's discuss the Lurcher, or the Stalker, my bad. The Stalker in this video is one of the more problematic pieces to this puzzle. Personally, I think that using him as a standard pulse is a bit broken, in the aspect that he can clear 9 meters in a radius and detect heartbeats no matter if you are in Night Shade or Night Stride or any other state. So he instantly knows where your heartbeat is, tack that on with the lion and the jackal. Obviously the point is to find and kill, well, monsters. However, I think it's a bit unfair that while yes, you do move slower, you don't see traps if you're using it, but you only need to use it for a second to then find who you're looking for and then proceed to go murder them. I would rather have seen it where it has a cooldown, much like how Jackal only has limits to how many times he can scan, or the Lion has a large cooldown factor after he uses his ability even though it's charged up. My suggestion would be, at week 2, make it so that the Stalker has roughly about a 15-second cooldown from between the times that he is able to pull it out, and then proceed to return to mallet mode. This number can be tweaked with, and I would just like to see some sort of change to make it a bit more fair for the defenders. Now let's talk about the Prowler. The Prowler is the infamous lion in this mode. Now, I believe the best team composition for the attackers is to run 2 lions, 2 stalkers, and then 1 lurcher. Now, with Lion's ability to check where spawns are, I failed to do it at the start of the round. That is when all the monsters will be moving. Or, if they don't move, you have bought your teammates effectively about 3 seconds of time for their prep phase, which is the most important part. If I had been using my Prowler ability a bit more effectively, I probably could have saved myself 60 health pools. But, knowing where they had spawned, we had gotten 2 early picks. Now, while you're inside the building, the more important part is to get them while they're chasing. The chase is important because with the Night Shroud ability, or Night Stride, you are able to detect which direction they are going, regardless if they're invisible or not, unlike the Lurcher. So, your important role is to decisively pick when your teammates are in a chase, or when you know you are in a chase with the invisible defenders. From there, you use your ability, track them down, get a rough idea where they went, continue the chase when they are out of their Night Stride ability, and then proceed to cream them. That is effectively how you use Prowler. So next on our list we have the Lurcher. Now the Lurcher has a very specific role. It is either to waste utility or to capitalize on them not having their utility being used. To give you a hint, a good monster will know quickly when they're being tracklejacked, and the counter to that is to just simply Nightshade. I like this counter, and I like the way that this one works. It punishes those in the early round who, well, perhaps are positioning themselves away when they typically come out of Nightshade, or they're just sitting waiting thinking that they're safe. That is what he excels at. He does not excel at in the mid-round when people are running around everywhere away from the monsters for their 30 seconds of Night Shroud usage. So, how do you counter this, or how do you use them well? Like right now, I probably shouldn't have sold that because they were already chasing down my target who was being lurched, which is a waste of utility. The best portion to use is when, if you do run a composition of 2 Lurchers, which is a bit weaker, but can still be very strong in the late game when they don't have, if and only if the monsters don't have their shroud used properly. So, that is how you use Lurcher. In this clip here, I'm going to demonstrate how to use sound to your best benefit in this one, especially since, well, your attackers are essentially invisible. A good Rainbow Six player has already mastered how to find Vigil when he's still in his cloak form, not to mention if you're also listening carefully for Cav or Nook, you know sound is bread and butter in this game. It is the same in this scenario, which is why Ella can be very powerful for quick escapes, to not let them know where you're going, hence stalling for time and using the best of your Night Shroud. However, listen to this audio here, demonstrated below.
Bruh, body block.
Now, that was also a mix of visual cueing and situational awareness. When you see 2 of your compadres running down the same hall, odds are they are either not found a monster or they are still looking for one in a chase. Now, with that in mind, using both to your benefit will help get and secure kills quickly. Especially if you can, like, well, my teammate called out, body block, but up until that point, there was no cue to let me know that Kapkan was there. You have to take your situational hunch to cut down on time, because while he was still running, they would have caught him. I saved us possibly 2 to 3 seconds by taking and, well, murdering that monster. So, it is up to your choice. Find and use audio to the best of your ability as well as visuals. In this game mode, there are a few strategies that defenders have to use at their ability to the best. That is their early prep work and traps to get early picks, which is typically held at the front door or at typical stairwells. But there is another strategy, camping. Now, a trapper camping, not much of a surprise there. It is their bread and butter to stay out of sight and let the traps deal with them. And that is what they do best. And that is, except for Ella, the intent and purpose. Particularly Frost, Smoke, and or Lesion, along with Kapkan, to basically pick off as many attackers as they can before their inevitable demise. As long as they get all the traps down, they can hold off the attackers. However, there is another way you can hold this, and that is by a chokehold or a pressure point with Smoke. Smoke buys you time, as most attackers don't want to willingly sacrifice their vision, along with the fact of their health being sacrificed to essentially take one defender down with them. But how to deal with campers is go through the walls. Destruction is your friend. However, this is for unorganized tactics and strategies, and not all rooms have soft walls to breach into, so how do you deal with a camper? There is a few situations that you'll find yourself in for good campers. That is the ones that are hiding away, and that is where the Stalker comes into play, like the ones that are just hiding under a desk that you just so happen to run by. Or there are the ones that are holding objectives, as in the stairwells, and then small rooms that can be fortified with reinforcements. defenders have to their value and resource 1 reinforcement. So, they can use that to their effectiveness to cut off rotations and force you into choke points, just like, well, real siege. Now, there is one very strong strategy, and that is how to hold initiation or cult room and control room. There are a few cogs and pieces that I can demonstrate to you that give an efficient hold of this room. It is possibly the strongest hold on this site that we know today. You can extend the hold by going to the stairs, but obviously that comes at a cost that Frost will have to commit and prioritize her traps, but there are a couple ways around it. This Kapkan hold will not do. I can just go around it and pressure immediately onto the, well, defenders, taking out all their utility. That brings no benefit. However, they were smart to reinforce that soft wall, pushing me into this small room where we see a Smoke, who has missed his utility and is wasting more and more valuable time so that I can deal with the Kapkan trap. Waiting patiently, they're stuck. Defenders can, however, run outside at the expense that they can only be out there for a total possibility of 7 seconds. This can come to the benefit or the dismay of them. As you can see, they couldn't escape at all. So, now onto the defenders. As I've told you how to attack, it is only right for how to defend, which is by far the more challenging, but also the more rewarding side. It is quite fun to have things turned on their head, and the only reason that defending is harder is because of the wall hacking pulse that comes with the name of the game. Now, for Ella, as your character of choice, she is the crucial pinnacle end game clutcher. Your Ella must survive till the end for her strength to really shine. The early bombs help immensely with buying time for your setups, but Ella should, by all intents and purposes, be saving her night shrouds for as long as physically possible. My Frost here was not very thinking well, as they led the attackers right to me, and I had no manners of really escaping aside when my mine went off. Now, using your mines is a little bit of a breadcrumb trail to lead them away, or to just give you time while you nightshade as fast and as far as possible. The optimal strategy for, well, hide and seek in general is to get where they think they've already checked, which is, by all intents and purposes, the front door. My strategy was not perfect here, as the nightshade that I popped was a bit too, well, early, not to mention the fact that, well, they had a pulse. There's nothing you can do against that, and they could see me a mile away. Look at him just scanning me. So, what does Ella do when she's cornered against the wall? She can't kill anybody, and that is to waste time. Juke them around, buy as much time for your other compadres as possible. That is essentially what Ella does, and to, well, win the game. Unfortunately, we didn't do so well here, but it's not a bad shot. Getting down to only 5 seconds, that is a testament, as most rounds will end in about 30 to 40 seconds after it has started. Now, on to one of the more aggressive defenders that you will need, is how to set up Frost. Frost is, by all intents and purposes, the entry fragger denial. Not much different than her actual role, but for holding initiation, it is crucial that you put the mat under this window and then under the control room window. This puts any rushing attackers at a severe dismay, as it will probably sacrifice one of their lives. And what do you know? Sure enough, that is one down, which even if they take initiation now, with my bear mats being dropped, we have effectively turned the tides with our multiple of 15 night shrouds, which is just now dropped to 14 with Ella using one, to all of the time on our tag to escape. Now, that is the goal and objective, is to make sure that all your traps are down, set some more up outside, and stall out for the rest of the round. Best place for bear mats, still staircases, still blind corners, windows. They can't shoot them out. They can. It is very slight and very skillful action. They can hammer it while they vault in, but they have to know that the mats are there, and, well, unless they're very experienced, they won't be checking for it. Not to mention, if you stack it with the Lesion mine, that buys you time, and that is the name of the game, time. Well, it's actually hide and seek, but you get the intent. So, what does Frost do when she's, well, alone? Set up shop and hold on to as many night strides as you can. Once you reach the 20-second mark or 30-second mark, if you have all three still remaining, you win the game. It is very difficult, very, very difficult for the attackers to overtake you when you have, well, invisibility, super speed, and, well, they don't have time, which means you win the game. And that is how you hold Initiation with Frost effectively. Now, another common strategy is hold them at the door. If you spawn by kid's bedroom and you aren't going for the initiation hold, which is kind of silly, but if you do spawn kids, you can use some of your early mats to drop them and get them very low if you use Lesion correctly. I wouldn't waste a smoke on such a strategy, but definitely for this hold here. As none of my teammates were really willing, we had to make an effective run back to initiation. However, if you put down your frost mats at those stairs, you can get early picks as to those rushers, especially if the lion thinks that you're across the map. However, like I said before, that window is crucial, as they're well likely to rappel up and kill you. It is not uncommon for them to do that strategy, but it buys time, as rappelling instead of running is a lot more endangering to the attackers, as it wastes very, very critical time. This strategy works very well with Smoke being able to defend effectively and get early picks onto weakened operators. And when you hold them down in initiation, this should come easily. Now, for Legion's role, he should be compiling and stockpiling goo mines at the door, and I made a mistake here. I meant to push G before vaulting over, and I hope that was made obvious. But with your mats down and two attackers dead, means that this battle is, well, 3, 4. Bada boom, bada bing. The effective hold of initiation has proven useful once again. Legion's role in this should be to capitalize on frost mats if he can, or to be stockpiling those goo mines at the door. I don't have any footage of me playing Lesion, but his role is very simple. Either you take the kills onto frost mats, or you bide for time, like Ella is here with a little breadcrumb trail. If the attackers don't pull out the goo, they take the initial 10, and then per tick it is 20. So Lesion is very much the, well, lifeline to get away. Even if you're sprinting at base speed, you are faster than the attackers walking. So use it well, use it wisely, and don't forget you have 7 seconds to survive outside with a full 100 HP. Still haven't gotten enough of Frost? Well, that just goes to show how crucial she is to this game mode. She essentially can take 80 health or murder the attackers in one fell swoop. She is the most important fragger available. Now, Smoke over here has an unfortunate habit of going right to the door, but where his real strength should be is finishing off kills if Lesion is not willing to participate. But the other importance is that A stalls for time. This was a bit of a wasted night stride on my part, but the effective damaging cannot be emphasized enough of how crucial Frost is. All of those picks came from the Frost Mat hold and the Smoke damage ticking, which, thanks to Smoke and Ella, who have slowed them down through the smoke to give him 2 ticks, was giving Kapkan a free hit immediately. Even with how low of, well, monsters we have, we can still outnumber the attackers in time, if used effectively. And lo and behold, it doesn't stop getting any better. Now, with this situation here, I should have followed through with just running outside. I was hoping to bait him into it, but you can't outrun fate, as the announcer so loves to put. However, this is a large wasted venue of time while that was being given for our teammates to finish out the match for us. With 30 seconds on the clock, Kapkan at his strongest, and Ella still with her night strides, this game is pretty much over. This one attacker cannot do enough damage to get through to, well, our compadres here. And with that being said, that is just to show how important those entry mats are to go off for a successful attack, or, well, a successful defense. Now, on to the big man himself, Kapkan. Kapkan is crucial to this game. Regardless if you are doing initiation hold, regardless if you are playing just without strategies, Kapkan needs to survive to get all of his traps down. He must survive, as it is imperative that you hold your utility and stall for safe spaces. If anyone's played the game Dead by Daylight, Kapkan essentially gives you pallets. Pallets are a second chance, really, to escape without being immediately murdered by the oncoming attackers. Not to mention, if they are careless enough, it can set you up for victory with the added benefit that it gets rid of, well, an attacker. He gets 5 traps by the end of his setup, which means if Smoke and Lesion and Frost are doing their jobs, that could result in the entire team being wiped out, or it can result in just Kapkan alone, 2.5 players being eliminated. Which means if Smoke has gassed 1 tick and Lesion has gooed 1, that kills 3, which is more than enough than you should be able to survive the game with. 2 attackers will not be able to outroot 2 to 3 defenders with decent hiding places and also their lack of utility. Boom goes the dynamite. This is unfortunate, as I was pinned here by this, well, Stalker here, but there are ways of getting around it. With my lack of experience, though, on this match, it came early in. I should be vaulting out this window much, much sooner and wasting that stride. But if they do pop in, I had made the unfortunate miscalculation that they could just go around. I should have left the window more effectively. But with the death of those, well, attackers, that leaves Ella in an optimal spot to win the game, free of concern with all of her night strides, irregardless of how many lions or pulses you have. You cannot count for more bodies, and you cannot count for more time. That is what Kapkan's strength lies in. For any good defense of initiation, you need to have Smoke available. Smoke is, by all intents and purposes, the backbone of the strategy. Without Smoke, they just take the damage and run on in. All of them. However, with Smoke, to do that jeopardizes all of the attackers to take roughly at least 30 damage, which sets you all well for a good solid frag out against the attackers. Where it is best placed for Smoke is an entry in the hallway where you can have line of sight. However, I should have rebarricaded the door, but time was getting hesitant and dicey. So, you just sit back, wait, and enjoy imploding, and time your smokes out effectively and efficiently. It lasts just the same as the normal 10 seconds, and that, once you use all 4 of your smokes, buys your team 40 seconds in this initiation room, which is less time for the night strides to be used. These guys weren't very offensive heavy. However, now that it was time to leave with the breach, it was time to leave. Saving a few smokes for yourself is important for clutching out the round. However, I should have used 1 more smoke to buy my team exit time. I figured with all the night strides and how inefficient that the attackers were being, they would have escaped. However, that was not so much the case for a few that weren't getting the memo. But they still held out for a long time. I have 2 smokes, I have 2 strides, and we will effectively win the game. Using that last jackal ping to not give them any clue of where I'm going is crucial. Smoke is, by all intents and purposes, the time waster. And with that all being considered, I played this round a little poor, as I didn't anticipate the breach in from the side. But it still wins the game, no time for the attackers to win, and we, well, got the win. A really good, strong hold depends on smoke in initiation. Just like before with the setup, you reinforce the walls, and smoke buys time. Now, I believe in this clip it gets a little bit more dicier than enjoyably, but it is the crucial part of this strategy. With all the cogs working together, it is the strongest hold in this mode. Not to mention with all the other added benefits of buying the time, which is, well, name of the game. There are so many strategies, so many ways to get around this, but this is by far the best one. Using sound to your strengths, using your teammates to your benefit and the enemy's demise, you can win on defense. It is not impossible. It is the hope and objective that you do. 2 smokes gives you time, and Night Stride gives you speed. With Lesion, make sure that you use him very effectively in his, well, kill potential and time stalling. And then for Smoke, you need to use him crucially. I was a bit more selfish with my smokes, but once they have breached, Smoke can only do so much to help the team. It really comes down to the dispersal once the time has been initially wasted, and then the Night Shroud final match clutch. I only have 1 Night Shroud, but I have 2 smoke grenades, and that is all you will need sometimes. Those last 10 seconds basically guarantee you victory. A 1v3, no problem. Just sit back, relax, and wait. And pray, of course, that a pulse doesn't come find you and immediately destroy all your hopes and dreams. Again, I cannot emphasize enough how much of a disheartening fact that, well, Pulse's ability still is as strong as it is in this game. In normal Siege, speed and movement isn't nearly as cost-effective, but in this game mode, speed gets you killed, and knowing where your enemies are kind of ruins the fun of hide-and-seek. It's just he knows where everything is all the time, and I would really severely like a nerf to him, or at least for the cooldown time. By the way, that was a 4 kill with Smoke. Ha ha ha, get wrecked.